Picture this. It is December 15th, 1995. You are in the small, really tightly knit town of Bristol, Ohio. It's a freezing afternoon.
Right, proper middle of winter cold.
Exactly.
Yep.
So you are 15 years old. Your name is Ruth Markley. You turn the knob on your front door after a long day at school, and you're just expecting the normal, familiar warmth of your house.
Like anyone would.
Right. But the moment you step inside, the silence is it's deafening. Yet, underneath that silence, there is this violent, urgent hissing sound coming from the kitchen.
Oh, that is so eerie.
It really is. So you drop your backpack, you walk in, and the coffee pot has been left on for so long that the water has boiled completely dry. The glass is actually scorching like it's ready to shatter.
See, from an investigative standpoint, that is the physical manifestation of an interrupted life.
Yeah.
That singular detail, a boiling pot, it tells investigators that whoever was in that house fully intended to return within a matter of minutes.
Well, the scene only gets more chilling as you walk down the hall. On your parents' bed, their clothes are laid out, just neatly pressed for a funeral they were scheduled to attend that evening.
So they were actively getting ready.
Exactly. And on the bathroom counter sits your mother's purse, her lighter, and her cigarettes. Now, if you knew Shelley Markley, you knew she never, ever walked out the front door without those exact items.
Her anchor items.
Yes. But then you reach the living room, and your blood just runs completely cold. Your Souther's gun cabinet, which is a fixture of the house that has been securely locked your entire life, is sitting wide open. The door is ajar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and your parents, John and Shelley Markley, are nowhere to be found.
That level of domestic disruption is just terrifying. It completely strips away that illusion of safety we all associate with our own living rooms.
It really does.
And that brings us to why we are here. Welcome to the Deep Dive, where today we are opening up a stack of official investigative case files and field notes detailing 5 incredibly baffling disappearances.
Some really unsettling stuff today.
Right. We are not focusing on the massive cases that have dominated global headlines for decades. We are looking at the terrifying reality of people vanishing into thin air during the absolute most mundane, ordinary moments of life.
The moments you don't even think about.
Exactly. Our mission today is to reconstruct these timelines, examine the forensic and psychological clues left behind, and, try to make sense of the senseless for you.
So let's pull apart the mechanics of this Mark Ackley case, because the chaos that follows the discovery of that empty house is just staggering.
The truck is found first, right?
Yeah, John's red Chevy Silverado truck is eventually found abandoned outside a restaurant about 20 minutes away from the house. Inside the cab, police find tarps, Shelley's cell phone, and just a messy collection of potential evidence.
But the timeline of that truck is what's really fascinating.
It is. I want to pause on the timeline because this is where the forensic trail gets incredibly weird. That exact same truck was spotted earlier in the day, parked at a local Walmart.
And we know this definitively.
We know it for a fact because John's young niece happened to walk through that Walmart parking lot, saw the truck all caked in winter grime, and playfully traced the words, "Hi, Uncle John," into the dirt on the side panel.
I love this detail because she essentially created a completely accidental forensic timestamp.
She really did.
By writing in the dirt, she inadvertently proved to investigators that the truck had to have been moved from the Walmart to the restaurant after she walked by.
Right, but I'm honestly stuck on the bank teller's report.
Oh, the drive-through.
Yeah, we know John and Shelley were actually alive in that truck at some point that morning because a teller distinctly remembers them coming through the drive-through to cash a $1,000 check.
A pretty large amount for a normal errand.
Right. But the teller also noted something else. There's a third person in the truck, a slim, dark-haired man sitting in the passenger seat.
Which throws the whole dynamic off.
How does a bank teller hand over $1,000 to a couple accompanied by a strange man and not, hit a panic button? Do they not seem distressed?
Well, the psychology of eyewitness testimony in mundane situations is notoriously flawed.
What do you mean?
Unless someone is actively screaming or, holding a visible weapon, our brains default to normalizing the scene.
Just making it make sense.
Right. The teller saw a third passenger, but without an overt signal of distress, the brain just categorizes him as a friend or a coworker or a relative.
Wow.
That teller's memory is the very last confirmed sighting of the couple. And immediately after that, the entire investigation gets hijacked by this absurd extortion plot.
Oh, the phone calls. This part is wild. So John's brother-in-law starts getting these ransom demands. A man on the line claims John and Shelley are alive, but they're being held captive by some shadowy cult up in Toronto.
A cult.
Yeah, a Toronto cult. And to stop this cult from sacrificing the couple, the family needs to hand over $10,000.
Which is such a specific, almost movie-like demand.
It's exactly. Which leads to this massive Hollywood-style police sting operation on New Year's Eve. The extortionist directs the family to drop the cash inside a pile of penguin sweatshirts at a local mall.
Penguin sweatshirts.
I know, you can't make this up. So the police swarm the drop, but they don't arrest some mysterious Toronto cult member. They arrest Stephen Durst, who was a former disgruntled employee of John's. He actually used to live with the Markleys.
See, we have to look at the criminal mechanics here. Extortionists who prey on missing persons cases are rarely criminal masterminds.
Right, they're opportunists.
Exactly. They are scavengers. Durst weaponized the information vacuum. He saw a desperate family on the local news and realized, hey, I can exploit their panic for a quick payout.
That's awful.
But the truly tragic part is, despite getting a conviction for the extortion plot, investigators could never definitively link him to the actual disappearance.
It just functions exactly like a magician's misdirection.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, the human brain is drawn to the spectacle. We get completely consumed by the flashy, bizarre elements, the mall sting, the penguin sweatshirts, the wild cult store.
The noise.
Right, the noise. So we get so distracted that the real trick, the terrifying reality of how a married couple vanished alongside a dark-haired stranger at a bank, happens completely out of sight.
And that misdirection burned precious investigative time. When the trail was at its absolute freshest, law enforcement was chasing a phantom cult instead of looking for that dark-haired man in the passenger seat.
Now, the Markleys were invaded in the privacy of their own home, right?
Yeah.
We often assume that stepping out your front door into a crowd is what keeps you safe.
Safety in numbers.
Exactly. But let's look at how the illusion of public safety can just shatter in an instant. Put yourself in the really busy, picturesque Welsh town of Llangollen on June 16th, 1990.
So the environment here is drastically different from the Markleys' quiet house.
Very.
It is a Saturday, in broad daylight, surrounded by foot traffic, local shoppers, and tourists.
Right. So 52-year-old Trevelyan Evans owns a popular antique shop right in the middle of town. Her husband has been out of town for a week. A friend drops by the shop to give her some flowers, and they casually make plans for a girls' night.
Completely normal day.
Super normal. Sometime just after noon, Trevelyan takes a piece of paper, writes back in 2 minutes, and tapes it to her front door. She never returns.
And the inside of the shop is what really bothers investigators.
Yeah, inside the shop, police find her car keys, her handbag, and her makeup compact, just resting right there on the counter.
We are back to anchor items.
Yeah.
In 1990, a woman's handbag was her central command. You do not abandon your keys in your purse unless you are fundamentally convinced you are only stepping away for a literal matter of seconds.
And that is the psychological hurdle I just can't get over. Leaving your anchor items implies you're only walking a few feet down the pavement. Or it implies you're leaving with someone you trust implicitly. I mean, why would a smart, business-owning woman willingly walk away with a total stranger without grabbing her purse? We know witnesses reported seeing Trevelyan walking and talking with an unidentified, smartly dressed man in a suit carrying a briefcase, both in the days prior and that very morning.
See, the presence of the man in the suit suggests premeditation on his part, but misplaced trust on hers.
How so?
Well, if she perceived him as a professional, perhaps an appraiser or a local official, she might step out to point something out on the street, fully intending to step right back inside.
Oh, like showing him something in the window.
Exactly. But she didn't. And when a daylight vanishing goes unsolved like this, the silence breeds a very specific type of community paranoia.
It really does.
Yeah.
We see the paranoia just metastasize into the physical environment of the town. Fast forward to 2011, her own husband is actually arrested and then released without charges. But the real chaos happens in 2019.
The golf club incident.
Yes. Two local brothers hear this persistent town rumor. They decide to investigate the floorboards of a nearby golf club on their own. They literally snake a tiny fiber optic camera down into the dark under the floor, and they claim they find something resembling human remains.
They even take photographs, right?
They did. But when the police showed up days later and tore up that exact spot, they found absolutely nothing.
Because the forensic reality of searching under floorboards is incredibly complex, the brothers insisted the evidence had been moved in the intervening days.
Which sounds plausible until you think about it.
Right. Moving a body or remains from a busy golf club without leaving a massive trail of trace evidence, DNA, fibers, a distinct odor, is nearly impossible.
Yet the town's psychology was already totally fractured by then.
Yeah.
Suddenly, these anonymous plaques started appearing, bolted to benches and brick walls all around Llangollen, declaring that justice was being denied and that Trevoline's body was hidden at the club.
The town literally became haunted by its own missing 2 minutes.
It's so sad.
But if we are dissecting the danger of walking away with someone, we have to look at what happens when the person you were walking with is your own mother.
Oh, man.
It's the splintering of proximity. It is one thing to vanish from an empty shop. It is entirely different to vanish when your family is standing literally on the other side of a brick wall.
Right. We are jumping to December 28, 1992, the freezing, wind-battered northeast coast of England in a town called Saltburn. 23-year-old Stephen Clark and his mother, Doris, are on a routine 2-mile walk along the beach boardwalk.
A walk they've done before.
Many times. They reach the local pier, and Stephen says he needs to use the restroom. So they split up. Doris goes into the ladies' room. Stephen goes into the men's. Doris finishes, waits outside, assumes Stephen just, started walking home ahead of her, and she heads back.
And he isn't there.
He isn't on the path. He isn't at the house. He never comes home again.
We really have to evaluate Stephen's physical and psychological profile here to understand how bizarre this is.
Yeah.
As a young boy, he was struck by a car. The accident left him with very limited use of one of his arms and a highly distinctive limp. He was not like some covert operative capable of slipping off the grid to start a new life undetected.
No. How does a grown man with a severe, highly visible limp just vanish from a beach boardwalk?
Mm-hmm.
There's zero cover.
None.
He had no wallet, no passport, no cash.
Mm.
And he was in a great place mentally. He had literally just won an award for disabled workers. He had a new romance. It is an outdoor locker room mystery.
It completely defies the laws of physics.
It does.
Yeah.
Some people claim they saw him days later or walking with an older man weeks later, but it all led nowhere.
The real tragedy of this case isn't just the disappearance, though. It is the bureaucratic nightmare that swallowed the family decades later.
The 2020 arrest.
Yeah. In 2020, cold case detectives, operating on nothing but an anonymous, completely baseless letter, actually arrested Stephen's elderly parents, Doris and Charles, on suspicion of his murder.
That is just mind-blowing.
They brought heavy machinery into these elderly parents' backyard and literally tore the earth apart.
Finding absolutely nothing. But the damage is done at that point.
Irrevocable damage. I mean, police departments often face intense pressure to clear cold case statistics. Sometimes that pressure results in horrible tunnel vision.
And innocent people pay the price.
You have parents who survived the agonizing, ambiguous loss of a disabled child only to be publicly humiliated, arrested, and treated like murderers in their twilight years by the very system that was designed to protect them.
It is genuinely enraging. But, if the Stephen Clark case shows us how the system can unjustly target a family decades later, our fourth file shows what happens when the system targets the victims on day one.
To derail the whole investigation.
Exactly. Let's travel to Augusta, Georgia, March 18, 1990. 15-year-old fraternal twins, Danette and Jeanette Milbrook, leave home to walk to their godfather's house for bus money.
Just a quick errand.
Yeah. A gas station cashier remembers them stopping to buy chips and soda. That is the final definitive sighting. Their mother reports them missing that exact same night, but the police tell her to wait 24 hours.
Ugh. That 24-hour rule is one of the most toxic myths in law enforcement history.
It's purely made up, isn't it?
It is. The first 48 hours are statistically the only window you have to recover an abducted child alive. Asking a parent to wait is essentially asking them to let the trail go cold.
Well, I can't let the administrative negligence that follows slide because it acts like a massive firewall against justice.
It's a cascade of errors.
The officer misspells the girl's last name. He writes down the wrong birthdays, he lists the wrong home address, and then the lead investigator formally slaps a runaway label on the file.
Which is absurd.
Let's break down this logic. You have 2 teenage girls. They leave behind their essential daily seizure medication. They have a combined $20 on them. They were literally just walking to get bus fare. How does a trained detective look at those facts and declare them runaways? I mean, it just defies all common sense.
Right. They don't look at the facts. They look through the lens of systemic bias.
Oh, yeah.
In 1990, 2 young, lower-income black girls from a rough neighborhood were statistically viewed by the system as discipline problems, not victims.
Yeah.
And that runaway label has massive, massive legal consequences.
It's an administrative black hole.
Precisely. The National Crime Information Center, or NCIC database, categorizes a runaway as a juvenile status offender. It legally prevents them from being listed as endangered.
Which means no resources.
Exactly. That means no helicopters, no canine units, no grid searches, and no media alerts. The police even falsely informed the mother that the girls were in foster care without a single shred of paperwork to back it up.
Which creates an enormous, completely unmonitored blind spot, and who thrives in a blind spot? Predators. Sure. While the police were ignoring the Millbrook twins, a man named Joseph Patrick Washington, a suspected serial killer, was violently attacking women in that exact same neighborhood. He lived near the twins' father, a man who also had a heavily violent history.
The police essentially handed a predator a permanent head start.
They really did. When investigators finally attempted to reopen the case decades later, the original files had mysteriously vanished from the precinct.
It is a sobering reminder that when administrative negligence intersects with human malice, people are effectively erased from existence.
Now, you might be listening to this and thinking that all these cases are just relics of the 1990s, before smartphones, before GPS, before Ring cameras on every single porch.
It feels like vanishing today should be impossible.
Right. But our final file from October 2024 proves that a digital trail doesn't solve the mystery. It actually just turns the victim into a digital phantom.
Because technology provides us with highly specific data points, but absolutely zero human context.
We are in South Carolina. 32-year-old Zelig Williams is a charismatic, incredibly talented Broadway star who performed in Hamilton and MJ the Musical.
Huge talent.
He's staying at his mother's house, and he drives off in her red Ford Escape, taking his headshots with him. The assumption is he's just going to a local print shop to make copies. But less than an hour later, his friends, all the way in New York City, receive an automatic SOS crash alert from his phone.
Let's examine the mechanics of that alert for a second. Modern smartphones have advanced accelerometers and gyroscopes.
Right. They can tell when you drop them.
More than that, they don't just detect a dropped phone, they measure sudden, massive deceleration. They look for the specific G-force signature of a vehicular impact. When that SOS goes out, the hardware is screaming that a catastrophic physical event has occurred.
So his mother obviously rushes to the GPS coordinates provided by the alert. But there is no crash, no shattered glass, no dented guardrails, and no Zelig.
So where was he?
Hours later, that red SUV is found parked in a trailhead lot 30 minutes away. Inside the car, his shoes are sitting on the floorboard. His clothes are neatly folded and stacked on the driver's seat.
See, the narrative violently shifts here from an accidental trauma to an intentional, or at least highly erratic, disembarkation. I mean, why take off your clothes and fold them after an alleged crash?
Well, the witness reports make the timeline completely surreal. A park ranger speaks to a driver who claims he was passing near that exact trailhead when a red car suddenly whipped around and followed him into the lot.
Okay.
The witness parks, and a man gets out of the red car. But the man begins acting erratically. He strips off his clothes, leaves them, and walks down the trail until he is completely naked, dancing wildly on a bridge railing over a river.
We really have to inject the heartbreaking psychological reality here. Zelig's family disclosed that he was in a highly vulnerable state.
He was struggling.
He had recently stopped taking his medication and had been fasting. And dance was his deepest form of expression. He specifically danced to honor his two sisters, both of whom had tragically died in a car crash years prior.
It absolutely looks like a severe mental health crisis.
Uh-huh.
But I have to stop you here, because the digital forensics contradict the physical sightings entirely.
This is the crazy part.
At the exact moment this witness claims to be watching Zelig dancing naked on the bridge, Zelig's cell phone is pinging on a cellular tower 90 minutes away in a completely different town.
90 minutes away.
Cell phones don't sprout legs. Wait, so if a man is on a bridge and his phone is an hour and a half down the highway, doesn't that fundamentally require a second person?
It does. And a cell tower ping operates like a lighthouse beam. It sweeps over an area and registers the device, proving the phone was physically in that specific sector.
It's hard data.
Furthermore, GPS data pulled from the car showed the red SUV had been driven in bizarre, repetitive loops for hours before finally parking at that trailhead.
So someone is driving in circles, triggering a crash alert, while someone else is allegedly dancing on a bridge.
When you combine a severe mental health vulnerability with contradictory digital data like this, it points to a terrifying intersection, a crime of opportunity.
You think someone saw he was vulnerable?
It suggests Zelig crossed paths with someone harboring ill intent while he was incapacitated or in crisis, someone who took his phone or his vehicle while he was spiraling.
And the physical search was just a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Hurricane Helen had just battered South Carolina. The river was raging and flooded. Drones, ATVs, and dive teams searched the water under that bridge. They searched the woods, the local hospitals. Nothing. Zelig just stepped off the digital map.
It shatters our modern complacency.
It really does.
It proves that despite our SOS alerts, our GPS tracking, and our constantly connected devices, the wilderness, both the literal flooded woods and the dark wilderness of human intention, can still swallow someone whole.
It's deeply unsettling, and I think that is the true thread connecting these 5 files. You are looking at people doing the most ordinary things imaginable, walking into a public bathroom on a beach, opening up an antique shop on a Saturday, getting a few dollars for bus fare, going to get headshots printed,
Just living their lives.
and in a fraction of a second, the timeline just stops. But the answers exist. They are out there, frozen in time, whether they are buried under floorboards, hidden deep in a flooded river, or locked away in the memory of a dark-haired man sitting in the passenger seat of a pickup truck.
Think about the last people to interact with these victims. The bank teller handing $1,000 to the Markleys, the friend dropping off flowers at Treveline's shop, the driver watching a man on a bridge. When they looked at those faces, they had no idea they were looking at ghosts. It leaves you with a chilling question. How many people have you passed on the street today who are quietly living out the very last ordinary moments of their lives right before stepping off the map entirely?